come to private sector. Allow me now maybe just to go to Yvonne, to you, because you are implementing. You are, if there's a battlefield, you are on it, and we've seen Rwanda Air grow phenomenally over the years. What has worked in terms of moving people along, and what is most needed now? We've been having the conversation around open skies. Yeah. What is most needed now?
Thank you, Julie. I think to start with what has worked for Rwanda Air, I'd put it in the context of Rwanda first. We're very fortunate to have a government that understands the importance of aviation, which is not always the case in all the African countries. In that framework, the government has put in place all these policies, all these initiatives that make it much easier than most other African countries, whether it's the visa policy, which allows us to transit a lot of people through Kigali, whether it's removal of taxes on jet fuel, which is not the same in other areas. So that's great. And putting infrastructure in place, we're building a new airport, which is coming up soon, and investing in the airline, additional aircraft. So that has worked very well for us. But it's still a big challenge. Operating within the African continent as an airline is a huge, huge challenge. And that's always the first question anybody asks me when they find out I work at RwandAir is, why are your tickets so expensive? That's standard, everybody. So that's where we start to see all the barriers that make connecting the continent so difficult. Whether it's the fuel prices, which are 20 to 40% higher than in other areas in the world, the high airport taxes, all the charges that are lumped on before we even put our base fare. So before you even put the RwandAir fare, we have between 100 and, if you move to Central Africa, 200, 300 in West Africa already on the ticket. So that's before you put the overflight, the ground handling charges, all the charges that start adding up, and that's why you can't get a $200 flight between Kigali and Johannesburg, let's say. So that's the frustrating part. What we really, really need right now, number one, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, is we need to open our skies and open it properly. And I think Eric went through SATM very clearly. We've signed SATM. We just need to implement it correctly. Because even with the countries which have signed onto it, we still have to negotiate bilateral agreements where they refuse to give you fifth freedom rights to operate. They refuse to give you a second point in their country to operate. So we need to get over that. We've signed, let's implement correctly. And also, I think when we're talking about this mindset change, the fundamental thing is for governments and everybody to understand that aviation is not a luxury. It's a necessity for our people in this continent. This is a continent of 1.4 billion people, but we account for only 2% of global traffic. So we're all fighting for this tiny piece of the pie because we're putting all these barriers to it, whereas we can just remove this and understand we need to get our people moving within the continent, trading with each other, remove visas so that we can grow that pie to a much bigger one. We have a huge continent, we have a lot of young people. This is a good industry for employment, for trade, for everything. So we need to change our mindset in terms of what aviation means for this continent.